Hey guys, my name is Brock. This is one of the athletes at our gym, Joelle. I'm going to be taking her through the steps in order to perform a deadlift. She hasn't ever done this movement before, so I'm going to see what her form looks like before I give her instruction. We'll take her through just some of the basic mechanics and then give her some things that she can work on away from class in order to improve her mobility as well as her strength to get better at the deadlift. Alright, so first I'm going to have Joelle perform a couple deadlifts and then we'll go into some of the things that she can work on to improve her deadlift. So, do 2 reps. Alright, so I'm going to give you 2 tips and things that we need to work on in order to improve your deadlift moving forward. So, the first thing you want to do is you want to focus on bringing your shoulders back. So I notice at the bottom of your deadlift, you have a tendency to round your shoulders forward, and that will put your back into a rounded position, and that is unsafe when you're lifting heavy weight. So keep those shoulders back and then stay in that nice position in order to keep your back flat. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you want to try to lower your hips a little bit at the beginning part of the deadlift. So I notice when you're at the bottom, your hips are pretty high. See if we can lower those hips down a little bit in order to put us into a safer and better starting position at the bottom of the deadlift. Alright, so shoulders back and see if we can get those hips lower at the bottom. See if you can lower the hips even a little bit more if you can. Okay. Alright, so one thing that I noticed when we were doing the deadlift there for a second time is that your hips still aren't getting as low as we'd like them to. And most of the time this is due to lack of hamstring mobility and just your glutes and your hamstrings and even your calves are pretty tight. So one thing that we can do in order to improve that is use a foam roller. So a foam roller is something that we want to spend a good amount of time on each day in order to loosen up some of those tight spots, whatever it may be. So, and you're just going to roll back and forth, find any spots that are super tight, and just spend some time, maybe 1 to 2 minutes on each side, and just really focus on loosening up any of those tight muscle areas. So you can use it on your hamstrings, on your glutes, and even into your calves just to loosen up all those muscles. And ideally this will get you loosened up in order to get those hips lowered and into a better position for our deadlift. Alright, another thing that we can do in order to improve our hamstring mobility and our glutes is this stretch called the dragon. So what you're going to do, you're going to have the ab mat down on one knee, you're going to lunge forward, have your knee right on top of your foot, and see if we can get our elbows down on the ground, and you'll feel the stretch out all through your hamstrings and into your glutes. We want to hang out here for about 45 seconds to a minute, even up to 2 minutes, depending on how tight we feel, and just really focus on staying still and just really sinking into that stretch in order to loosen up the hamstrings. Alright, so moving forward, your deadlift is looking better already. I gave you some things to work on as far as your mobility goes. The next step is some accessory movements that'll help improve your strength in the deadlift by doing some different things outside of the deadlift. So the first 2 movements that I'm going to show you, they're very similar, but they're a little bit different. So the first one is called a good morning. So you want to have the barbell on your back, and all you're going to do is hinge at your hips, keep your back nice and flat, bend down nice and slow like this. As soon as you feel like you can't go any lower without bending your knees, come back up. Okay, so from the side, go down. As soon as I feel like I'm going to bend my back or bend my knees, you want to stop, find that tight position, sit there for a second, come straight back up. You can perform anywhere from 10 to 15 reps of this at a time. It should be a nice and slow and controlled movement in order to really feel that stretch out. And the goal here is really to build that hamstring strength and all through our posterior chain. So slow, controlled movement. The second one is similar, and this is just a straight leg deadlift, keeping the barbell in front of our body, bending down nice and slow. Same thing, hinging at the hips, back up from the front, bend down nice and slow, keep those shoulders back nice and flat. There can be a little bit of bend in the knee, but we mainly want to keep them straight so we can feel that stretch out and really build that strength in our hamstrings as we're going through the lift. Nice and slow. One more. Perfect. All right, let's go. Good mornings. Barbell on your back. Same thing, bend down nice and slow. Keep your back flat. Good. All right, the next movement that I'm going to have you do to improve our deadlift is the GHD hip extension. So during the hip extension, it's another slow and controlled movement that's really focusing on our hamstrings, glutes, and our lower back. So this will really translate over well into the deadlift. So if we can do these and build up strength, you'll see improvements in the deadlift. So how we perform this movement, you're going to get on it just like this, put your feet in it, straighten out to a nice flat position just like this. You're going to lower down nice and slow to about a 90 degree, and then rise up, pause, just like this for a couple seconds, and then back down. So go through a couple reps here, take it nice and slow. Keep that back flat, good. And up, so you can pause for a couple seconds, back down, good. So I'll have athletes go anywhere from 5 to 10 reps at a time, take a little bit of break, and go through a few rounds of that in order to really build muscle in our posterior chain using this machine. All right, so after finishing up with those mobility things and the different strength exercises that go along with the deadlift, we normally see that athletes can put themselves into better positions and are much safer going through the deadlift after doing all that. So as we can see her perform the deadlift now, her hips are much more mobile, her hamstrings are looser, and she can go through the movement properly. Her hips are lower, she's keeping her back nice and flat,